You discuss your interactions with Bill on the field and I guess in the locker room after the game.
Yeah. I mean, all those are personal. So we've had a personal relationship and, for 20 plus years. So he drafted me here and I've had a lot of personal conversations that should remain that way, and they're very private. And I would say so much is made of our relationship. And, as I said earlier this week, from a player standpoint, you just expect the coach to give you everything he's got. And I'm sure as a player, that's what he was hoping from me. But nothing's really accurate that I ever see. It's all kind of, definitely doesn't come from my personal feelings or beliefs. And I have a lot of respect for him as a coach, and obviously a lot of respect for this organization and, all the different people here that try to make it successful.
All right, about last night. Start us off, Michael Holley.
Yeah, Mike, it was just, it's just strange. It's strange, first of all, still at this point to see Tom Brady in that uniform. I know it's been since March 2020 when Tom Brady said he was going to sign with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but you talk about a generation of football fans who grew up in New England rooting for Tom Brady or nationally got used to seeing Tom Brady, number 12. It was Brady, it was Belichick, and that was football. And to see him there in that uniform coming out of a different locker room last night and taking on Bill Belichick and the Patriots was just wild to me. And, the game was what it was. And it didn't, nobody really predicted that it would play out like this. It was very sloppy. It lacked drama at times. I mean, the final score and the final moment of the game was dramatic with the 56-yard field goal attempt from Nick Folk that bounced off the upright. But it wasn't this high scoring. It wasn't this beat down. It really didn't fulfill anybody's prediction of what it was going to be. But what really stood out to me, and this tells you that if you really want to know the story of Tom Brady in New England, don't listen to me, don't listen to anybody else in New England. Just the pictures. The story is told in pictures. At the end of the game, thank you, NBC. I'm not just saying this because it's family, Mike, but I thought that was the smartest decision. The smartest decision last night was to keep the cameras rolling and just to watch Tom Brady stand there. It's like a receiving line at a wedding. Everybody wanted to see the groom. And player after player, coach after coach came up to Tom Brady and shared a word with him. And that was from Devin McCourty to Josh McDaniels to Matthew Slater. I mean, these are people he really has strong relationships with. And look, we've debated many times. I'll say this about Tom Brady. We've debated many times about the best player in NFL history. Who's the best player in NFL history? You say Jerry Rice. I say Tom Brady. Somebody else might say Lawrence Taylor, Walter Payton, Jim Brown, on and on. Nobody's wrong. But I can tell you, I think the best leader in team sports in my lifetime is Tom Brady. Because of moments like that. Let's run that back again. I hope we got some more of that. More of that video of Tom Brady postgame. These are genuine, no matter what else happens, hey, Brady should have stayed, Belichick should have given him the contract, he would have been this good with the Patriots. We have that video. No matter what you say there, Tom Brady has such a relationship with everybody he's played with. And it's not just the stars, not just obvious guys like Randy Moss and Rodney Harrison and all these guys who are big time Patriots. There are so many players who say, this guy came in, my first day there, he knew my name, he introduced himself to me, he was just one of the guys. And I know he's an international icon, he's married to an international icon, but he wanted to be one of the guys. So I think if you talk about what the New England Patriots missed, what they missed last year and what they missed to a degree this year, it's not just the quarterbacking of Tom Brady, it's the presence, it's the spirit, if I may be so bold to use that word. It's the spirit of Tom Brady. And so seeing them last night, that era comes to a close officially. His last game at Gillette Stadium, I'm sure of it, his last game at Gillette Stadium facing the Patriots, and we got to see what made them so special. If you didn't really think they had anything special, if you just watch that post-game scene, that says it all.
You said it was like a receiving line at a wedding. I imagine for Tom Brady, it was the closest thing to being at your own funeral. You called it strange. I would use another synonym, and I would say it was surreal, but also satisfying. I actually did call this when I had Bucks by a field goal, so I would have won some money if I'd have taken the Patriots and the points.
Okay. How about that?
But I think it was also satisfying because everybody could go home happy. Bill Belichick obviously wasn't happy, and hardcore Patriots fans weren't happy. Their team lost. But I know I went to bed happy, and I went to bed pleased and satisfied because it felt like everybody got what they wanted. Brady got the win. He got a chance to overcome his former coach, his former teammates, and his own emotions. There's hope in New England, thanks to Mac Jones and his 19 straight completions and the moments that he put forth last night. There's hope for life after Tom Brady. And we got a chance to watch something that we've never seen before and maybe never will see again. Some of the platitudes that you gave to Tom Brady, those aren't reserved for Tom Brady. If you want to make an argument for him as the best leader in your lifetime, that's fine. But there's a lot of great players about whom the same things are said, about their relatability, about their ability to tap into everybody in the locker room. Brady did it for longer and maybe better and more successfully than most do. But that's the mark of a great player and a great leader, to get people to follow him. And you get people to follow you based on their ability to see themselves in you for the most part. So we got a chance to see a celebration of Tom Brady long before his Hall of Fame induction. It was something of an induction. As a matter of fact, Michael, pardon the hyperbole, but I would venture to say that I want to credit Tom Brady with 7.5 Super Bowls. I've never felt anything like I felt last night outside of watching the Super Bowl. I can only imagine what an emotional wreck he must have been going into that game, playing in that game. He probably felt more pressure for a regular season game than he's ever felt. And this is the guy that's been oblivious to pressure for his entire career, or at least seemingly oblivious to pressure. So I'll give him 7.5 Super Bowls because last night felt like a Super Bowl. It felt bigger than the hype. It felt bigger than the anticipation. The moment he jogged onto the field, I got butterflies. And so more than anything, though, in terms of the storylines, in terms of the relationships, we talked a lot about why things ended the way they did, and maybe they just had to end the way that they did in order for them to end. I've quoted,
Right.
I've said this before, that all things end badly, otherwise they wouldn't end. But if they didn't end the way that they did, and Brady finished his career in New England, and they were a playoff team, but never a Super Bowl contender again, maybe that wasn't the way the story was supposed to go. Maybe it was supposed to end
Right.
with, as I've said, him building a new dynasty in Tampa. Maybe it was supposed to end with the Patriots resetting to Mac Jones. And at 42 years old, I'm learning this a lot. A lot of relationships are seasonal in our lives. Some relationships
Right.
are just
Right.
for a season. They're not meant to last forever. In this case, it was 22 seasons. But for Tom Brady, that chapter is closed. That chapter is over. Can you hear me okay? Why am I
Yeah.
hearing?
Yeah,
Okay, it's weird. I was hearing
I can hear you.
I was hearing myself again.
Music.
Sorry.
Okay, all right.
No, I'm hearing myself for some strange
All right.
reason. Anyway, this relationship was for a season, and that season came to an end. It was for 21 seasons, more specifically. That season came to an end. It just felt all good. It felt okay. And especially knowing that they had a moment or 25 minutes, as the case may be, Belichick and Brady, in the visiting locker room, it felt like we could all go home and exhale and say, I felt good about everything I saw last night. I don't think there were any losers. I think everybody won in some way, shape, or form. I know the Patriots are 1-3. I know Patriots fans would disagree, but it just felt like everybody
they're the big losers.
should go home
They are the big
feeling
losers.
good. No, I wouldn't call them big losers because they acquitted themselves in a way that not many expected against a superior, at least on paper, a superior Buccaneers team. And their quarterback may have had his coming out party. That was Mac Jones' best game, in his biggest moment as a pro. So there's a lot to take away from it. And it just felt like it's all good. It doesn't have to be drama. It doesn't have to be beef. I would love to have been a fly on the wall, as we all would. What do you think was said between Belichick and Brady when Belichick, no small thing, to venture over to the visitors' locker room and pay a visit to Tom Brady after the game? That's not a small thing. And I imagine it. I could see Belichick. I could picture Belichick displaying a level of humility that most of us on the outside don't get a chance to see. And I don't think there are any regrets on his part, but I imagine him saying to his face, "You're the best player I ever coached. Everything I've done as the head coach of this organization, I could not have done without you. No matter what is written, no matter what is said, no matter what impression I gave off, I appreciate you. I'm happy for you." Maybe even told him, you know what? And I don't know, I have no idea what went into the negotiations and how directly involved, or lack of negotiations, how directly involved Bill Belichick was. But I hope that Bill Belichick would have said something to the effect of, you know what? I didn't know you still had it in you all this time. I did not know you could still play like this. But the bottom line is, everybody, especially Tom Brady and perhaps the Patriots, everybody is on to bigger and better. And we could all be at peace with how and why things ended the way that they did.
Well, not all. Not all at peace, but I understand what you're saying. And I'll come back to that. But I want to go back to something you said about three or 4 minutes ago. You talked about some relationships are in your life because they're seasonal relationships. And if people could understand that more, then maybe a lot of people wouldn't have some of the issues that they have. And some of the conflicts wouldn't exist, and some of the regrets wouldn't be there. You know, some obviously, like a marriage, you'd hope, a marriage is there for the long run. But everything is not a marriage. And I know we talk about Belichick and Brady and divorce, but it's not a marriage. So it wasn't that. It is a professional relationship that reached its peak. As a matter of fact, probably went beyond what it was supposed to go beyond, based on the way Bill Belichick felt at the time about Tom Brady and his long-term future, and the way Tom Brady felt about himself. So that's important. Like, we can go back and forth over, hey, if the Patriots if they just would have given him the Drew Brees contract, 2 years, $50 million, they had guaranteed more money. If. But the bottom line is, sometimes you need to leave the place you're at, the place where you are. It's not that you hate the people. It's not that the money's not good. It's not that they don't respect you, but for your personal growth and for your personal development, sometimes you've got to leave. And that's really what happened with Tom Brady. He probably didn't think that in the summer of 2019 that it's best for me to leave. He probably thought at that time, I've got to leave because they're not giving me what I want. But by the time he got to Tampa,
in order to leave your circumstances, in order to leave what's familiar, and I'm speaking from experience, a lot of times you have to be made uncomfortable, because otherwise you
uncomfortable.
You won't walk away unless your situation gets shaken up. And there's no way of because you can't see what's better on the other side. Brady certainly, even though he knew the reality, he was in New England. He saw Bledsoe, Seymour, Lawyer Malloy, Ty Law, so many players not finish their careers in New England.
But he was still different than
he saw his idol Joe Montana not finish his career in San Francisco.
He's different than him too.
That was a very real possibility that he wouldn't finish his career there. But as time went on, it didn't seem like that was really going to go down that way, not with him. Like, he would be the exception, which is why last night was so surreal. But once it came down to it, you don't see, like, man, and Belichick actually, we think he's just saying things and not really saying anything with any meaning behind it or substance behind it. We weren't the best option for Tom Brady. Bingo. they weren't the best option for Tom Brady, because the Tom Brady we saw in 2019 is not the Tom Brady we saw last year or this year, and probably would not have been the Tom Brady we're seeing this year. By the way,
Tom Brady, 2019.
Tom Brady,
That was that guy last
Tom
time.
Brady, I've already said I see him challenging for double-figure Super Bowls. You know, I got him winning it this year. And I think he can threaten 10. How about 100,000 passing yards? With a 17 game, 3 more seasons, he doesn't even have to sustain the average that he's had over the course of his career. If he stays healthy and continues performing the way he has just in Tampa, I don't think the 50 thing is a joke. I could see him playing the 48, if not close to 50. I don't see him falling off so much to where he can't continue to be productive. He may threaten, if not touch, 100,000 passing yards.